Hello and welcome to Healthy Waves, dear listeners. This is the live group podcast. It's a new concept I tried with all of my gorgeous and talented guests. Where we dive deep each day into the world of health and the wellness. So, I'm your host, Avik, and each week we bring together top experts from various fields to explore the cutting edge topics, share their insights, and engage in enlightening discussions. Definitely. So whether it's nutrition, fitness, mental health, or personal development, we cover all to help you live a healthier and a happier life. Let's ride the waves of wellness together and get started. So today we have a great guest with us. So we have Pam Sherman, we have Richard Kraft, and we have Justin Groth. So I'll quickly introduce you to all of you with our guests. So starting with Pam. Like she is a dynamic force, I would say, in the fitness and the wellness world for over 24 years. Yes. So as a group exercise instructor, trainer, and running coach and food coach, Pam is dedicated to helping women feel amazing in their own skin. So she teaches like how to eat for health and the weight loss and move for lifelong wellness. So her tagline is your health is your wealth. Definitely. So despite a life-changing accident 4 years ago, uh, she emerged stronger and is now is the best shape of her life. So she is the seven times author, international speaker, and coach on the Fit Radio app on a mission to inspire others to take their health seriously. So, welcome to the show, Pam.
Thank you. It's amazing to be here again. I appreciate you having me on.
Lovely, great, great. So I'll also quickly introduce you to Richard. So Richard is a former healthcare leader who turned his career challenges into the opportunities for personal growth and the connection. So Richard explores the unfiltered truths of the fatherhood, self-care, mental health, and the chaos of everyday life. So after being laid off during the pandemic, I guess we all have faced that situation. So he found solace and purpose in podcasting, sharing his personal struggles and interviewing others on the deep topics. So his gift for the connection, vulnerability, authenticity, and transparency shines through his work. So inspiring many on their journeys to the self-discovery. So welcome to the show, Richard.
Thank you. Grateful to be here.
Lovely, lovely. And we also have Justin. So Justin Groth. So he is a master trainer, natural bodybuilder, former competitor, entrepreneur, and a podcast host. So his journey from feeling wayward to finding the direction in life through the fitness has molded him into a man of value and the discipline. So he emphasizes the importance of mental strength, then resilience in achieving the personal success. So his passion for helping others reach their highest potential led him to open his own business and start his podcast straight from the chest. Yes. So where he shares the wisdom on personal development and the self improvement. So welcome to the show, Justin.
I appreciate it. Thank you, man. Thanks for that intro.
Lovely, lovely. So, dear listeners, you can understand like with whom we are talking today. So it will be a great conversation today, where we'll be talking about unlocking the longevity and also at the same time embracing the mental health, nutrition, fitness for healthy aging. Correct. So, I'll quickly start with Pam. Pam, if you can share like how your fitness journey began and what inspired you to focus on helping the woman feel amazing in their own skin.
Well, I started at a young age. Grew up with two big brothers, so it was kind of a had to run around with them, and I was a tomboy. I mean, for lack of a better word, when they babysit me, we had to play football and tag and run around. So I've always been active, and always loved moving my body. Movement brought me joy. And as a when I finished college, I met a woman who was a group exercise instructor, and she said, "Pam, I see how much you like to work out. Why don't you take a course on how to be a group exercise instructor? Because it's exercise is easy for me. I was born with motivation dripping out of my pores, and I thought there's a lot of women out there who don't like to exercise, who don't like to move their bodies. I could actually inspire them. So it was more of I was a coach even before I knew I was a coach, and it's always come natural. And I love, love, love helping women because many women, if you guys work with ladies, they think it's selfish to take care of themselves. And it's not selfish, it's self care. And if I can show women the right way to eat and the right way to exercise to feel good, not only for now, but for later, then my job is done. And it's been, with social media, it's very easy to reach lots of people out there, but I love encouraging women because they think I can't. I'm like, no, no, it's like the oxygen mask. You have to take care of yourself because nobody else can do it for you. That's the one thing nobody else can do it for you except for you. So setting aside that time and making a plan for your nutrition will pay off for the rest of your life.
That's very very true. So we need to take care of ourselves definitely. So great, thank you so much, Pam, for sharing this. So moving to Richard, like Richard, your journey from healthcare a leader to a podcaster is definitely uh, I would say it's inspiring. So if you can tell us also like how this transition came about. I mean, what actually motivated you to start podcasting?
Well, years ago, I was sitting at a counter at a Waffle House and I was sitting next to men. And, you have to sit at the counter unless you're a party of two or more. And that was kind of my way to go have breakfast, like on vacation or while the kids are asleep. And so I considered writing a book, but that felt overwhelming. And blogs were kind of a thing. And so I had a blog called the Men of the House blog. And then that kind of was difficult. And I would say sometime during the pandemic when I got laid off, I was an avid podcast listener. I was doing Uber and Uber Eats, and I would listen to podcasts all the time. And it was a way to kind of learn and earn at the same time. And so, I was applying for jobs and whatnot. And, I can remember my father was like, well, why don't you just start a podcast? Because I wasn't having any luck with jobs, or they weren't where I wanted them to be, monetarily or location wise. And I can remember filling out an application one day, and my daughter goes, do you really want 2 a.m. phone calls again? And she goes, why don't you just start a podcast? And so the idea was like, okay, I can take this Men of the House idea that was a blog and possible book idea and turn it into a podcast. And I felt like, it was several things at once. I wasn't having any luck with employment. I was distraught and unhappy from having been laid off and not coping very well and overusing alcohol and just miserable. And so I kind of stopped drinking and set a plan for the podcast. And that was kind of this, it gave my mind something to do, something to focus on, a goal towards, and to be able to structure um, something and maintain a little bit of structure in my life. And that's kind of how it all came to fruition. And it was kind of like it's been a personal kind of journal that you could say, I guess you could say, some of the solo episodes. And then I started interviewing people. And, that interviewing is kind of like similar to my story in that I want people to know that, hey, you're not alone. You're not crazy. Other people have these problems. Other people have these thoughts. And I think if we can show through the stories of others
Yeah.
resilience and triumph, then we can, connect people to other people, but also help them heal in a way and try to make the world a better place through those stories. And it's also a way to preserve history because, if we all think about in our age groups, how many of us knew our great grandparents or heard them speak? Now with this, there's going to be children and grandchildren that can go back and actually not just see photographs of their relatives, but possibly hear them and connect with them and know what they were thinking and know what they were about. So that's kind of what the podcast is for me and how it came about.
Lovely, lovely, great, great, Richard. So coming to Justin, Uh, so Justin, your journey into the fitness industry is definitely remarkable, I would say. So if you can also share us, like, how did you first get into the bodybuilding, and what actually kept you motivated throughout the years?
So I started out not into fitness at all when I was in high school. I didn't play. I only played. Well, I played sports. I played baseball, but I wasn't into lifting. Wasn't in any of that. And I got out of high school, and to shorten a long story up, I just became anorexic. I had identity issues with my body. I didn't. I didn't know. I wanted to. I knew I wanted to look different, but I didn't know how to go about it. And to give you some context, when I was in high school, I was about 165, 170, and I'm 5'11". So I was normal, but I was pudgy, like around my waist. And I didn't like that. And I also had these chubby cheeks, and I didn't like that. So I thought to myself, how do I change that? And being young and dumb and impressionable, I thought I'm just going to do a lot of cardio. I ran a lot and I ate very little. So I got very, very, very skinny. And I got to a point where I was my lowest, if you can believe it or not, was 134, my lowest.
Mm.
And so at that point, I realized that I had a problem. And I was young enough that I was still living at home at the time, my parents. And I told my family, I said, look, I need help because I'm not going to change this on my own. I know myself. I'm very addictive, my personality, whether it's good or whether it's bad, right? And so my mom got me signed on with a nutritionist, with her personal trainer at the time as well. And I just kind of went the opposite direction. I went into a local supplement store, got protein, got, creatine, got glutamine, got branched chains. And I was now on this different trajectory. And it slowly started to become an addiction. So the same thing that happened with the anorexia, right? Going the opposite direction and getting very, very lean. It went the opposite direction now. Now I had this affinity for working out, for building my body. And I really loved that. And at the time I had a friend I was training with, and he was a natural bodybuilder. And when, for your audience, natural means no drugs, no pharmacological substances of any sort. It's just all over the counter, creatine, branched chains, glutamine, etc. And I fell in love with that because I'm a drug-free person in its entirety. I've never drank, I've never smoked, I've never done anything. And that's been in my entire life. So I kept that same moral compass when it came to bodybuilding. And whatever I could build on my own is whatever I could build. And that's what I stuck to. So natural bodybuilding was the path for me. And I got good enough to where I started to compete. And when I did competitions, that grew a newfound affinity for bodybuilding in and of itself. Just a transformation entirely, not just in body, but more preferentially in mind. I was just a more significant, able, competent individual. And it revealed to me that I had discipline that I didn't even know I had. It revealed to me that I had work ethic that I didn't know I had. I remember looking at my dad when I was very young, and I remember seeing him work in his job, and he's the owner of his own business as well. And I remember seeing him work circles around his employees. And I remember thinking, wow, that's just amazing. Like, I want to be that kind of man for my family. And I never knew how I would go about that. And when I found bodybuilding, it taught me that I had that same type of characteristic. It was just in a different avenue. It wasn't in he was in landscaping. It wasn't in landscaping, but what it was in the art of building my body. And then not just that, but carrying that over to building other people's bodies, building a fitness business, etc. So I'm indebted in insurmountable ways to bodybuilding for showing me that, for uncovering that potential that I had in me. And that's why I have the fire in me to show that with others and reveal that with others. Because I think it's paramount that people understand what they're capable of. And it's paramount that people kind of go into foreign territory, get a little bit challenged, and see what they could accomplish.
Yeah. That's really really I would say it's not a story, I would say, but I would say, like, for the listeners, it will be kind of learnings, basically, like how you've been through this stages. So it's a learning for sure. So thanks for sharing, Justin. So
Of course, of course.
so coming back to Pam, like, so your tagline, I really love the tagline. Your health is your wealth, definitely. So if you can share a bit, like, what exactly it signifies. I mean, what exactly it portrays,
Sure.
and how it influences your coaching philosophy.
Well, it was 7 years ago that I was out for a run and I got hit by a car.
Mm.
And I face planted into the car, rolled off, rolled onto the road, got safe and all those things. And I did not break any bones. And Justin, you'll be interested to know 2 years prior to that, I started lifting weights regularly. So
Nice.
my strong muscles protected my bones. And prior to that, I've been a trainer for 28 years now. Everyone wants to be skinny. And after I got hit, I just thought, why are we chasing skinny? Women need to chase strong. Because had I not been strong, I can't even imagine what my injuries would have been like. And so that tagline came out of that is your health really is your greatest wealth. Think of any time you get sick or anytime you have an injury, like, oh, I just want to feel better. Is people they take their health for granted. And I see that a lot now that when I was younger, I've been doing this for a long time. When I was younger, it was like, oh, just work out, whatever. Now it's like working out is going to affect your quality of life when you're 60, 70, 80. But when you're younger, you don't think about getting there. And I'm like, we all see older people in the grocery store hunched over, really bad arthritis. They can barely walk. Their gait is very slow. I'm like, those people never moved in their lives. What we do now has a direct reflection on how we are going to age and how we're going to feel later on. So taking care of it now, it doesn't have to be extreme either. It's not hours and hours a day in the gym, but taking that time every day to move your body, to stretch, to work on mobility, to eat well, that really does make a huge difference later on. So your health really is your greatest wealth.
That's lovely, lovely. So when we're talking about the health and strength training and fitness, so I'll come to you, Justin. So what, according to you, I mean, are some of the biggest challenges that people face when they are trying to achieve their fitness goals? So if you can share.
Yeah, in short, it's vices and bad behaviors and bad patterns that have been substantiated over years and years and years. You are your habits. If you create bad habits, you're going to be those things. So that's the number one thing that I see people coming into grips with and having massive contention with. And then they don't put themselves as enough of a priority. So they give into their vices because what they don't see the underlining massive value that's at the end of the road when they go above their vice or they set new patterns or they prove new habits to be the way that they operate. And because of that, they just fall back into the old behaviors, old patterns, and it just is a hamster wheel that they keep running on. And the biggest thing is for people to put this as a priority for their lives. Similar to what Pam was saying, when people are being selfish with their time, or I'm sorry, you kind of worded where women are not, they're giving their time to so many different people or so many different things that they don't, and that's absolutely true. But it's women, it's men, it's everybody, but it's more preferentially women because women are the caretakers of the household more often than not. And so, when they put themselves on the back burner, they really suffer. And I mean, this can happen with both genders, but it's more seen with women. And 90% of my clientele is women. So I see this daily, and it's a constant conversation that has to be had, because if it's not had, then they just fall back to their old styles of operation. And these are those same styles of operation that have got them here in front of me in my studio to begin with, where they're out of shape. They have they don't have such a good blood panel, or they don't feel good. They operate at a low level, but that's become their new norm. So they don't know anything different because that low level is their new norm. And so they don't know what it feels like to feel optimized. They don't know what it feels like. So it's our job as fitness pros to reinstill those behavioral patterns that are for their betterment, that serve them, and refocusing them as the priority. If they don't, then they'll always run this constant hamster wheel that just gets them nowhere.
Yeah, understood. Great. So thanks for sharing, Justin. So these are very, very important, and definitely we should create more awareness about this for sure. So coming to Richard, in your podcast, you explore deep topics which are related to the mental health, fatherhood. So, what, according to you, are some of the most, I'd say, examples you can say, or maybe most impactful conversation that you had, uh, and what did you learn from them and want to share for the listeners?
Um, oof, wow. I've had quite a few, but some of the first ones were very impactful for a couple of different reasons. Some of my first interviews before I was part of Podmatch actually
Mhm.
came more organic through meeting people and kind of getting to know their story, and some of it was through TikTok. And so my first two interviews, one with Louis Altalano, he's a soulful recovery pen, is the name of his. He has a journal. And then Marcel Roston, who is Tomorrow Needs You. Those are the name of the episodes. But one was about sobriety and how a relapse led to him getting shot at a family function, and coming out of that, how he used writing because he was a creative arts major. He used writing and made journaling prompts as part of his healing. And that has since turned into what he does now as a business. And so that one was very impactful, um, because in June I did hit 1 year alcohol free. So I gave up that vice. And, you know, so that was an incredible story for me. And then with Marcel, he his daughter committed suicide at 17, and so that story was about, she was a twin, and as a father, most important of all the things he is or was, is he's a survivor of that. And so, that one, it was just a very deep and meaningful conversation. And in terms of how he dealt with it and continues to deal with it, is inspiring. And, those two episodes were definitely some of my favorites and very special to me. One, because the relationship I formed with them, but then two, their openness and vulnerability and willingness to get that message out there to potentially help others, but to also be a resource because, both of them have, with the journaling prompts, they have like a Discord group. And then with Marcel, he has Tomorrow Needs You as a business. And he does things like, people who reach out to him, of members who have done the same, family members. He has a full size Dodge truck that he signs their names on, so that just rides around Vegas. So he does some cool things like that. But yeah, that's probably two of the most impactful and first conversations that I've had, and that I still talk to those people on a regular basis.
That's really great. So also coming back to Pam, like so as we navigate into the complex world of health and the wellness, it's very easy to caught up into the information which are available to us. So because uh, uh, internet is everywhere, I mean, we can find anything. So now, like from social media influencers to the fitness gurus, so everyone seems to have an opinion on what works the best. So, however, the uh, abundance of the advice often, like what to say, leads to confusion also to people, and especially when it comes to the fitness and the nutrition. So, what shall I do? What shall I pick? How shall I proceed? So, so like women. So I'm talking about women. So women in particular, like face a kind of challenges, unique set of challenges. There are a lot of challenges and misconceptions, definitely. So, uh, with your extensive experience into the fitness and the wellness coach, as a wellness coach, uh, you are undoubtedly encountered many of these misconceptions firsthand. I totally believe so. uh, if you can share some of the misconceptions like women have about the fitness, nutrition, and how you address them.
Sure. Well, when I started teaching, it was all about cardio. And there's so many women that just think, I'm just going to do cardio and that's enough. I mean, I'm just rolling my eyes here. I'm like, Justin, you got to roll your eyes. It's never about cardio. They need to lift weights and not the little pink weights. They need to lift heavy things because they're picking up kids, they're picking up groceries, they're picking up heavy stuff from Costco. Do not pick up the little light weights in your gym. That's ridiculous. You need to lift heavy weights so you can build strong muscles so that they will protect your bones as we age. And so many women think they're going to get big, bulky muscles. And in all my years of doing this, I have not seen one woman ever get big, bulky muscles. In fact, they don't realize it's the opposite. You actually get smaller. You fit into smaller sizes when you lift. Your body composition changes, and that just it drives me crazy. I'm like, get off the elliptical, please. Just get off the elliptical. Just pick up some weights. And if you don't know how to do it, hire a trainer. That's easy to do. You could always go on YouTube, but I would say if you're at a gym, hire a trainer. Also, women, especially my age group, I'm 57, we were taught restrict, eat less, be smaller. And that is the worst advice for any woman is why do you want to take up less room? That's just, you're going to be frail. Speaking of frail, 134 pounds, Justin, I can't even, like, that's nothing. That's
Yeah.
like blowing you. I mean, that's just crazy. So you don't want to do less. In fact, I always tell my clients, you want to eat more. You want to eat more protein. You want to eat more vegetables. You need to eat more protein because our protein needs increase as we get older, not decrease. They increase as they get older. And when we're like, I can eat carbs all day, but I can't eat enough protein. And you have to eat more protein. You have to strength train. Those are the two biggest things. Like, please get off the hamster wheel of cardio. Please start lifting weights and please eat more. We've been told forever to eat less, but you need to eat more of certain things.
Wow, that's really lovely. And so thanks for sharing this, because why I asked, because this actually happens with a lot of us. Like, we get to know a lot of informations and we get confused like what to do, what not to do. So thanks for sharing this. And and coming to Justin again, on the same thing, like about your podcast, uh, straight from the chest. When we talk about the personal growth, right, so we often seek the inspiration from those who have actually walked the path before us. So uh, podcasts have become powerful medium, definitely in these days, in the journeys, offering listeners to get the chance to learn and grow. So I mean, your podcast, straight from the chest, like, which delves deep into the world of personal development. So uh, I did love to hear, and definitely for the listeners also, like, what drives this passion for you? I mean, what inspired you to start this podcast, and what message do you hope to convey to the listeners?
Well, I mean, I'm in it every day. I'm in personal development every day. So I don't speak from a position of I've already done it. I speak from a position of I'm doing it, and you should probably do the same for yourself, because everybody deserves that
Hmm.
that opportunity to do this for themselves, and they should treat themselves with the respect to do so, to work on themselves. And personal development is nothing more than taking care of yourself on all planes, so physical, mental, spiritual, etc. And I always say this: the lowest hanging fruit that anybody could grab that is directly tethered to personal development is going to be working on your fitness, getting stronger, making sure that you're exercising discipline with what goes in your mouth. I mean, these things are going to be paramount to you uncovering a better person. And a lot of guys that sit in front of the computer and play games all day, or they just have a 9 to 5 and they come home and they sit in front of the TV. If they do some hard shit occasionally by going to the gym and lifting some weights and seeing what they're actually capable of doing, building their bodies up, building their minds up through the art of challenge, because it's a challenge to lift heavy weights at times. Even if you want to do it, it's still a challenge. So when you do that, you feel more accomplished, you feel more productive, you feel more competent as an individual, and then that competence breeds confidence, and everybody wants more confidence, period. And so that is essentially the lowest hanging fruit anybody could grab that right now. And like Pam was saying, you may not need to hire a trainer. I mean, even though that's going to be your best bet, it may be too not affordable for you. But online, there's so many sources: YouTube, Instagram, Reels, and such. A lot of people could gain a lot of inspiration and a lot of guidance and structure by just doing some back end work when it comes to developing a fitness routine. And so ideally, you'd want someone coaching you, working with you specifically and individually. But if you can't afford that, there are so many resources available. The problem is people don't care enough. That's the problem. They don't put themselves as a priority enough. And so everything's available to you. It's whether or not you want to do those things to get the better version of you and extract that better version of you. And so, I mean, personal development is just those things, right? It's just working on yourself.
Exactly, that's very very true. So which I also believe, like, that motivation and that inner urge should be there, like, yes, I need to do it, I need to achieve that. So definitely then only it will gonna help anyways. So uh, thanks for sharing this as well, Justin. So
Of course.
coming to Richard, like, so uh, I really love about the authenticity and the vulnerability you talk about. So uh, so like, I mean, nowadays in today's world, when we often present, like, there are a lot of versions of ourselves, right? So authenticity and vulnerability definitely can be rare, but it's powerful for sure. So these qualities can create a genuine connection and also pave the way for the personal growth. So, what, according to you, are your emphasis on these attributes in both kind of refreshing and inspiring?
Well, I have a YouTube short, and saying was, I think that authenticity and transparency should be the new social currency.
Mhm.
Is I think it's this. Um, it's important to me because, well, let me see. Nobody likes to be bullshitted. Kind of the thing. The One of the things with what Pam and Justin were talking about. I mean, there's just so much information. There's there's so much aesthetics coming at you, and some people are selling off of that, and therefore it's harder to maybe sift through and find the truth unless you do that back end work. And so I think authenticity, whether it comes from a place of you're trying to offer a service or something like that, just that realistic kind of connection with somebody, I think just it makes a world of difference, at least to me. I don't want to feel like somebody's trying to take advantage of me or just trying to take my money, but that they really want to help me. And with the podcast, that's kind of part of it. Is, you know, as a person, whenever I stopped drinking over a year ago, it it was kind of hard to say that, but now a year later, it's much easier. And part of that authenticity, transparency, and vulnerability is for myself. It's like a form of self care, of self love, of um, being truthful and open and honest with myself as well as others, not lying. And it kind of folds into this of doing what you say you're going to do, and don't lie about it. You know don't cheat yourself. And it all kind of ties into that, but that's kind of like a ground base, a good place to start from. And when you start, not only to yourself, but then to the outside world, but especially to yourself, because we always want to look away. We always want to look a certain way to the outside world. But I would say it's almost more important that you keep that integrity with yourself, whether you're tracking macros, whether you're hitting the gym, whether you're saying, hey, I'm going to do this and hold myself accountable. For me, it's fitness, it's podcasting, it's a little bit of everything because, my journey was all of it in one. Um, Stopped drinking, started exercising, started the podcast, and it all kind of goes into the lane of self-development, self-improvement, because that's what I had to do to get better. And, in that time, I've managed to lose 47 pounds from 213 pounds to 165 and 9 prescriptions to 2 prescriptions. And, the thing is I was a personal trainer in 2005 and I have an undergrad in health and kinese, but I got into the corporate world and became that person who would get off work and overstressed and come home and drink and eat and go to sleep. And, um, you know, I had the know-how, but still let myself go. And so it was kind of having to go back to some of those basics and, start tracking calories and start exercising and most of all being consistent. And kind of like Justin and Pam said, it didn't have to be anything crazy. I just started with walks.
Understood. That's great. That's great. So, coming to Pam, so uh, regarding lifelong wellness, uh, how you help your clients to achieve these sustainable health habits?
Well, I always say walking is very underrated. Great, you started walking, Richard.
Hmm.
And I used to be a long distance runner, so I just thought, why walk? Then I went to Italy where there are 0 gyms and everybody walks and everybody is normal size. There's very little to 0 obesity over there. And we have become a society of comfort because people get DoorDash and you don't actually have to leave your house when our bodies are meant to move, they're not meant to sit. So bottom line, I say you have to do the basics of walking. And I don't think there's a perfect amount of steps per day, but I think if you're walking 2,000, walk 3,000 this week. Keep it very simple and sustainable forever. Are you drinking enough water? Because yes, coffee is a food group, but your body needs water, especially this time of year. And not a gallon a day. For most people, they don't need that. I live in Sacramento. It's very hot here. If you're exercising, you might need that much, but for the most part, get half your body weight in ounces. Get enough sleep. Sleep is number one. When people are like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, sleep, water, walking. Let's start there. Keep it basic. Do that for the rest of your life because the most people fail because they try extremes. And those extremes last for 2 or 3 days and then they say nothing works, right? They're all or nothing. Like, let's not be all or nothing. Let's habit stack and build little habits at a time. So it's not talking about motivation. Don't
Mhm.
wait to be motivated. Make your health a habit. You don't think about if I'm going to brush my teeth, you brush your teeth. Are you going to work out? That's not a question. You're going to work out. You're going to go for a walk after a meal. You're going to drink water, all the things. So just making it sustainable by doing one little thing at a time, I find is the best way to instill that in my clients.
Lovely. That's really lovely. So, Justin, coming to you, how you help your clients to achieve the balance between physical and the mental well-being. So, in between the two.
It's different between each person, man. I mean, there's no blanket
Mhm.
solution or a strategy for everybody. It's going to depend really on that person, the vices that they struggle with, the things that they choose to put in front of themselves. That and it's a day to day concerted effort on both my end and their end coming together as a team to make this thing a reality for them. And when I say make this thing a reality, make their transformation a reality, it's a concerted effort on both of our ends. And so I can't give you I can give you examples, but I can't give you an actual blanket solution because it doesn't exist. This is dependent on the person and their situation, from a subjective standpoint, but the bit I would say there are a few things that really deter people, and one of those is going to be alcohol, and the other thing is just going to be not moving enough. And a lot of times I see people, well, like for example, if a person comes to me and they want to get in shape, they want to, whatever, we obviously look at their nutritional program, which is nothing. They're not on a nutritional program. They just eat whatever, they drink whatever, there's no program to be talked about. So oftentimes those people will underreport what they actually eat, underreport what they drink. And it's because, I mean, I don't want to go into psychology because why, but I tend to think it's because they're their biggest fan and they want to defend themselves the most. So they won't want to put themselves in that vulnerable position and tell you exactly what everything is, or be transparent to that point where they're divulging with everything and anything. It's just kind of like, well, yeah, I drink occasionally, but it's just one glass of wine when it's really four. I might, yeah, I eat healthy. I eat Mediterranean style diet, but it's not the diet, it's the actual portions. And they're underreporting the portions. And these are the reasons why. I mean, these are just a couple of things as to what hold people back. And then on top of that, not moving, working long hours, stressing, not sleeping effectively. So all these things play a massive role in body fat storage and obviously muscle degradation. So we don't want that. We want to reverse that process. And that takes that person changing their lifestyle. It's a lifestyle intervention for most people. It's not just, let's just fix this or fix that. I mean, that's what you deal with when you deal with athletes. Athletes are people that you maybe have to fix one or two things with. But the general populace that comes to seek out a trainer, they more often than not need lifestyle interventions. And that's just been my experience, though.
No, that's true. That's true. Thanks for sharing this. Yeah. So also coming to Richard, like if you can share some of the practical tips, like uh, how to navigate, I mean, the chaos life of every day while also maintaining the mental strength and the well-being.
I would probably go to what Justin and Pam have kind of said, with kind of starting with basics. And that's what I did. Go to the simplest form of things. Alcohol, you know, it's not just about the calories or whatever. For me, it was about understanding what it did to my brain. And that if you have a baseline and you redline it like an RPM with alcohol, then it's going to fall below baseline, and then you're depressed and you don't feel like doing anything. So, understanding that and how that affected my motivation, my desire, um, my pep, or whatever you want to call it, to do stuff. That was kind of the first things. And then it was basic, a little bit of movement, small walks. Then it was nutrition. I think learning, even if you don't hire a trainer, if you can go in and just get your body composition done, so you can know what your caloric needs are, so you can know what your macros are, and get you a inexpensive scale. They're inexpensive nowadays. Weigh out a portion size so you know what it looks like, so you're not overeating. So, it was like, watch your vices, alcohol, basic, start walking, dial in your nutrition just a little, just so you know what a portion looks like. And then sleep. Sleep is one of those things that I struggle with. I'm not a great sleeper all the time. I got a Whoop watch on the way, a Whoop band, so I can start tracking sleep, because that's something that's very important to me. I mean, I track my steps, I track my macros, but I think and then I journal. I journal quite a bit. I consider that touching base with myself, and I think those are small, basic things that I did slowly, and then you kind of progress and you can dig in deeper to each one, whether it's dialing in macros, tracking your sleep and whatnot. And now I lift weights and I do cardio. But I started off walking, and I think it's really get down to the basics and perfect the basics. Start slow. Don't try to slay all your dragons at once. And start slow and kind of build from there. But once you get the basics down, you know, that's kind of the key. You can just build off of them. But I think starting slow so you don't get overwhelmed is some of the best advice you can get.
Great. Thanks, Richard. So thank you everyone for joining us on this episode of Healthy Waves, where we had an incredible time exploring the realms of fitness, mental health, mental strength, nutrition, and the healthy aging with our esteemed guest. So a big thank you to Pam, Richard, and Justin for sharing your valuable insights and the experiences with all of us today. So for the listeners, I would love to mention like each journey to a health and wellness is definitely unique. As Justin also mentioned that everyone has a different criteria, so it's not one size fits all. So and the knowledge shared today can serve as a guide for your own path. So we hope that you have found this discussion as enlightening and insightful and inspiring as we all did. So stay tuned for our next episode where we'll continue to bring you more expert advice and engaging conversations to help you live a healthier and happier life. So until then, ride the waves of wellness and take care. So I'm a big signing off from Healthy Waves. See you next time. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.